The boardroom lights burned long past midnight, casting cold reflections on polished glass walls. Half-empty coffee cups littered the 12-foot table, while 6 executives argued in circles, their voices sharp with panic. A $10 million contract was on the line, and their system had crashed hours before the morning deadline. At the far end of the room, a man in gray coveralls pushed a mop across the marble floor, silent and invisible as furniture. Marcus Johnson, night janitor, 45 years old. Didn't belong in their world, or so they thought. Are we really dead in the water? One VP barked. We can't reboot. The data's corrupted and no backup will load. Marcus paused just long enough to glance at the monitor on the wall, recognizing the error code flashing red. He'd seen it before, years ago, in another life. Hey, mop guy. An executive sneered without looking up. Stick to your lane. This is real work, not floor scrubbing. Laughter rippled around the table. Marcus said nothing. He just tightened his grip on the mop handle and kept cleaning, his sharp eyes tracing every detail on that screen. What they didn't know, what none of them could imagine, was that the man holding the mop was about to solve a problem worth $10 million. Marcus Johnson had never imagined his life would end up like this. Working nights with a mop and bucket in the very kind of building he once helped design. 10 years ago, he'd been an electrical engineer leading a small team, but when the company downsized, Marcus found himself replaced by someone younger and cheaper. Bills piled up. His wife passed away after a long illness. Now every paycheck went to his daughter, Alana, a 17-year-old with a brilliant mind and a college acceptance letter she might never use if he couldn't pay tuition. The Sterling and Company headquarters sparkled with glass walls, Italian marble floors, and executives who didn't know his name. To them, he was, "Hey, janitor," or "mop guy." He didn't complain. The job kept a roof over their heads, even if it came with more disrespect than dollars. Earlier that evening, Marcus overheard snippets of their emergency meeting as he emptied trash cans outside the boardroom. A software failure had locked their financial database on the eve of the biggest contract in company history. By morning, if Sterling and Company couldn't deliver the signed documents, they'd lose a $10 million deal to a rival. Inside, CEO Bradley Whitmore paced the room in his tailored Navy suit, barking orders into his phone. Bradley was the kind of man who wore success like armor. Perfect smile, perfect watch, zero patience. "I don't care what it costs," he snapped at an IT manager. "Get it fixed. I don't pay people to tell me problems. I pay them to solve them." Marcus passed quietly with his mop, pretending not to hear. But his eyes caught the freeze frame on the conference monitor. An error code he recognized from a system he'd once helped build at his old job. It wasn't catastrophic. Not yet. It just needed someone who actually understood the architecture instead of blindly rebooting. On the 12th floor break room later, Marcus sipped burnt coffee and read an old engineering manual he carried everywhere. A fellow janitor once asked why he bothered. Because one day, Marcus said, knowledge might save me again. Back in the boardroom, tempers flared. Do we have backups? No, they're corrupted too. Then rebuild it manually. That would take days. Bradley slammed his fist on the table. We have 8 hours. Marcus slid in to replace the trash bag. Careful with that mop, one executive muttered. Don't scratch the floor. Those marble tiles cost more than your car. Snickers followed. Marcus forced a polite smile, knowing silence was his only shield. But every insult was another weight pressing on his chest, another reminder of how far he'd fallen. Later that night, as Marcus vacuumed the corridor, he heard Bradley scolding his IT director. Do you have any idea what happens if this deal dies? The board will crucify us. I need this locked down by sunrise. The IT director looked pale. We've tried everything, sir. Nothing works. Marcus kept his head down, pushing the vacuum, but his mind was running faster than the machine. He knew exactly where the failure came from, a single misconfigured security key, a fix so simple it hurt. But no one had asked him, and no one ever would. To them, Marcus Johnson was just a man in coveralls pushing a mop at midnight. The building was nearly empty by 1 a.m., its hallways silent, except for the steady hum of fluorescent lights. Marcus pushed his cleaning cart past the boardroom, trying to make himself invisible. Inside, the executives were still at it, voices louder now, desperation creeping into every word. "We're dead," the IT director muttered, rubbing his temples. "The keys won't authenticate. Every time we try to push the files, the system rejects them. Then force it." Bradley snapped. "That could wipe everything." Marcus lingered near the door, listening while he dusted a nearby table. He knew exactly what they were missing. The architecture they were working on was identical to a system he'd once helped design at a different company. Before the layoffs, before the humiliation. But stepping into that room uninvited, he could lose his job instantly. People like Bradley didn't want advice from janitors. "Useless," one executive groaned. "We're surrounded by incompetence." His eyes flicked to Marcus. "Even the help around here is clueless." Laughter followed, sharp and cold. Marcus bent lower, sweeping the floor, letting the insult slide off his back. He learned long ago that pride doesn't pay bills. By 2 a.m., the room finally emptied. The executives left frustrated, phones glued to their ears, voices echoing down the hall. Marcus rolled his cart inside, locking the door behind him. On the massive screen, the error code still blinked like a warning light. He set down his mop and walked to the computer, fingers hovering over the keyboard. His heart pounded. Was he really doing this? What if security cameras caught him? What if they accused him of tampering? Memories rushed back. His last job, when he was blamed for a failure he didn't cause. Management had needed a scapegoat, and Marcus Johnson, mid-level engineer with no powerful friends, had been the easiest target. But as he typed, muscle memory took over. Within minutes, he navigated through directories the IT team hadn't even checked. He found the corrupted security key, a single line of code pointing to the wrong server. To fix it would take less than 5 minutes. He sat back, breathing hard. The solution was so simple it hurt. All night, these highly paid experts had been running in circles while the janitor in coveralls held the answer in his hands. A voice behind him broke the silence. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" Marcus froze. It was Charles Denton, senior operations manager, the worst of the arrogant bunch. His expensive cologne filled the room before his footsteps even reached Marcus. Caught red-handed, Denton sneered, pulling out his phone. "I knew you night guys were shady. Breaking into company systems? Do you have any idea how fast I can get you arrested?" Marcus raised his hand slowly. "I was just checking something. I think I can help." "Help?" Denton barked a laugh. "You mop floors. You don't touch multi-million-dollar servers. Step away from the computer." Marcus hesitated. If he walked now, the company would lose everything by morning. If he stayed, Den could destroy him before he even explained. The elevator dinged. Heavy footsteps approached. Bradley Whitmore stormed in, tie loosened, eyes bloodshot from anger. "What's going on here?" "Sir, I caught this janitor messing with the system," Denon said quickly. "Probably trying to steal data. I'll call security." Bradley's gaze swept over Marcus, cold and dismissive. "What's your name?" "Marcus Johnson, sir," he answered calmly, though his pulse hammered in his ears. "And what do you think you're doing at my computer at 2:30 in the morning?" Bradley demanded. Marcus looked from Denton to Bradley, then to the flashing error code on the screen. The deadline was less than 4 hours away. If he stayed silent, they'd lose the deal. If he spoke up, he might lose his job, or worse. He swallowed hard. "I think I know how to fix this," he said quietly. Bradley raised an eyebrow. Denton rolled his eyes. "Oh, this should be good. The janitor's going to save the company." But Marcus didn't flinch. He stepped aside from the keyboard just long enough to prove he wasn't hiding anything. "Give me 5 minutes," he said. "If I'm wrong, you can call security." Bradley crossed his arms, skeptical. "You've got 2. Marcus slid into the chair as if he'd done this 1,000 times before. His hands moved over the keyboard with quiet precision, navigating through layers of security menus the IT staff hadn't even touched. Denton stood behind him, arms crossed, smirking like a man waiting for a disaster to prove his point. "This is a waste of time," Denton muttered. "The guy probably Googled how to fix a server 5 minutes ago." Bradley didn't answer. He just watched, cold and impatient. Marcus spoke without looking up. The problem isn't your system. It's the authentication key. Someone pointed it to an old server path. All your backups are fine. They're just locked out because the system can't verify the certificate. Denton barked a laugh. Oh, sure, Mr. Mop. Next you'll tell us you invented the internet. Marcus ignored him, fingers flying. See this line? He highlighted a string of code flashing on the screen. It's referencing an obsolete domain. Whoever set this up never updated it after your migration. I just need to repoint it and reissue the key. You have 1 minute, Bradley said flatly. Marcus hit enter. The screen blinked once, then twice, and suddenly the system dashboard lit up green. All files unlocked. All signatures validated. A flood of incoming data scrolled down the monitor like rain on glass. The room went silent. Denton's smirk vanished. Bradley stepped forward slowly, staring at the screen, then at Marcus. It's its fix. Marcus stood up, wiping his hands on his coveralls. Yes, sir. You can transmit your documents now. The deal should go through before sunrise. Denton shook his head in disbelief. You mean to tell me we spent 6 hours tearing our hair out, and the janitor figured it out in 5 minutes? Bradley's sharp eyes stayed on Marcus. Who are you, really? Marcus hesitated, but there was no point hiding. Before this job, I was an electrical engineer. Worked on database architecture for 15 years. Got pushed out when my company collapsed under bad management. I needed work fast, so here I am. Denton let out a low whistle, part mockery, part embarrassment. You're telling me we almost lost $10 million because nobody thought to ask a guy with a mop if he knew what he was doing? Marcus didn't answer. He didn't need to. The glowing green dashboard said everything. Bradley glanced at Denton, his jaw tightening. Get out, he said. Sir, Denton blinked. I said get out. And consider your position here, under review. Denton's face drained of color. He stormed out without another word, slamming the door behind him. Bradley turned back to Marcus, this time with something new in his eyes. Respect. Mr. Johnson, he said slowly, you just saved this company. Marcus gave a small nod. Just doing my job, sir. Both of them. By morning, Sterling and Company had signed a $10 million deal without a hitch. The crisis vanished as quickly as it appeared. But Bradley Whitmore didn't forget who saved the company. At noon, he called an emergency meeting, this time with every department head present. Executives filed into the boardroom, expecting another tongue-lashing. Instead, they found Marcus Johnson standing at the end of the long table, still in his gray coveralls, mop leaning against the wall. Bradley cleared his throat. Last night, while most of you were panicking, this man solved our problem in under 5 minutes. He slid an envelope across the table toward Marcus. A personal check for $50,000. And starting today, you're no longer on janitorial staff. You'll be joining our systems team as a lead consultant. If you'll accept. The room buzzed with whispers. The same managers who had laughed at Marcus hours ago couldn't meet his eyes now. Marcus's voice stayed calm. Thank you, sir. I'll accept. But I'd like to use part of this bonus to cover my daughter's first year of college tuition. Education's the best investment there is. Bradley smiled faintly, spoken like a man who knows the value of knowledge. He turned to the room. Let this be a reminder. Never judge someone by their uniform. You never know what kind of brilliance you're sweeping past. That evening, Marcus walked into his small apartment carrying an acceptance letter and a cashier's check. His daughter, Alana, looked up from her homework, eyes wide when she saw the numbers. Dad, what happened? Marcus smiled, placing the check on the table. Just a little proof that hard work and keeping your head down can pay off in the most unexpected ways. The narrator's voice closed the story as Marcus hugged his daughter. Dignity and knowledge never depend on a title. Sometimes the person holding the mop knows more than the one holding the briefcase, and life has a way of rewarding those who never stop learning.